We're less than 1 week away from WWE SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer. And I know that with less than a week to go, WWE Creative has their ideas. They know what they think is going to happen. They've got their plans. But what would happen if they gave the folks of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast the pencil? That's right. On today's episode, we fantasy book. Booking the territory, as we like to call it, a staple of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast. Well, it's back, and we're going to talk all about SummerSlam 2021, what we would do if we had the book. That's all coming up right now on this Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast. The bomb drops now. Hello and welcome to this Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. We are coming to you on SportsWire Radio. Thank you for listening to us. Make sure you are following all over social media. You're listening at sportinarium.com/player. Thank you for doing that. I am your host, Chris Belcher. You can follow me at Chris Belcher24. The show is at PBW Podcast. If you are listening on SportsWire, make sure that you check us out wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, as well as on YouTube, because we have an extensive back catalog that you guys may not have heard yet. So we want to get you involved. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on one of those platforms. That way you can get the video version or the audio version, whichever you prefer, all on demand. Again, thank you so much for listening. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. We appreciate you not hanging up on us just yet. New episodes drop every Monday and every Thursday on SportsWire, as well as on demand on all of our platforms. Again, subscribe, give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would greatly appreciate it. And make sure you head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/PBW podcast. Buy yourself a Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast t-shirt. That is the best way to support the show, and we can't thank you enough for doing that. If you forget all those things and you're watching on our YouTube channel, that fancy little ticker that's down where? Down there at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you check that out. Make note of all those things. We greatly appreciate it. My brother from another mother, Jared Justice, was supposed to be able to join me tonight, but he had some things come up. So you are stuck with me for the next 30, 40-ish minutes. So hope you don't turn off that radio dial just yet. We got some fun things in store for you. Can't wait to book the territory, as we like to call it, for SummerSlam 2021. As you know, on Mondays, we typically do an old school show. We talk about an old school topic, but SummerSlam is less than a week away, and Lord willing, Jared and I will be there in person. So we want to talk all things SummerSlam this week, which leads me to this coming Thursday. Make sure you are tuning in on all of our platforms as well as on SportsWire, because at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central, we are coming to you with a brand new episode where Jared, Andy, and I will all three be together to preview not only SummerSlam, but NXT TakeOver 36. Make sure you join us on Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central, for that full preview. All three of us will be together. It's going to be a great time. Again, this week is all SummerSlam stuff. So I also encourage you to make sure that you follow us, like I said, on social media, because Jared and I will be in Las Vegas. We will be peppering you with all kinds of great video content, extra stuff. So make sure you're following along at PBW Podcast. As if that wasn't enough, make sure Saturday night. I'm used to pay-per-views being on Sunday. Saturday night, right after SummerSlam goes off the air, no matter what time that is, make sure you head over to sportinarium.com/player. Okay, that's sportanarium.com/player. All right, that's where you can catch us on SportsWire unless you hear otherwise. Okay, they are going through some brand changes, some shuffling going on there. So that's where you're going to be listening. Saturday. I almost said Sunday again. Saturday night, directly after SummerSlam, we will be live and in living color with our brother Tom Bryce, really taking the reins of this episode because we are doing live call-ins on SportsWire. That's right. The official SummerSlam post show of SportsWire Radio is going to be hosted by yours truly, Jared Justice and Mr. Tom Bryce. So if you have comments, if you have questions, call in. The number is there on your screen if you are watching on YouTube. If you are just listening to the audio, excuse me, I'm sorry. If you're just listening to the audio version, the number is 347-282-7735. Again, 347-282-7735. Swig of water for the working man. Hang on. Sorry, y'all. That's going to happen in this episode. I'm not fancy like all these Conrad Thompson podcasts and have a cough button or a mute button or whatever. We're just going with the flow here, folks. So, Saturday night after SummerSlam, make sure you tune in to us, Tom Bryce, Jared Justice, and myself live. SportsWire Radio, the official SummerSlam post show, and we're going to be there hosting it. It's going to be a blast. So make sure you tune in directly after SummerSlam. All right. Again, make sure you follow us all over social media. We are going to give you some great video content, some pictures, all kinds of good stuff documenting our trip from Vegas. May even be a special vlog that comes out next week, not this week, obviously, but next week. We're going to try to have a vlog set up for you. That way you can see all of those things together. That's going to be exclusively to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right. Lots of bonus content that you're not going to get anywhere else but on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Just type in Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast on the YouTube search bar. You'll see our logo there, which you can see. It's up here. There we go. Up here in the corner of the screen. That's our logo. You'll see that. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right. So again, here we are. It's me, myself, and I steering the ship tonight. We are talking all things SummerSlam 2021. Before we do, I cannot believe that as part of our old school shows that Jared and I did not mention this last week. I feel terrible that we didn't mention it. Before we move on, we've got to pay our respects here from the family of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Got to pay our respects to the life and times and career of beautiful Bobby Eaton. Bobby passed away. I know he had some health battles here recently, over the last several years, actually. So got to see Bobby last year, I believe it was, at the Jerry the King Lawler 50th anniversary show. He was there and in good spirits, but definitely a sad situation for him to pass away. I know a lot of wrestlers paid tribute online, especially Ricky Morton, who was really good friends with Bobby. They went to war on television, man. You always, wherever you saw the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, and Jim Cornette wasn't far behind. What a hot rivalry in the 80s that really propelled Jim Crockett Promotions and that whole scene in the NWA. So it really propelled them. So some fantastic matches there with those two tag teams. And that's not all beautiful Bobby did. He was a great television champion in WCW. Pretty sure that's who Stunning Steve Austin beat to win his first television championship. And then, of course, Bobby went on to be the Earl of Eaton. He was tag team partners with Lord Steven Regal there as the Blue Bloods in the mid-90s in WCW. So Bobby has done some fantastic things over his career. A Hall of Famer, no doubt. I don't think the Midnight Express are in the Hall of Fame yet, but they should be, especially after Bobby's death. So WWE, if you're listening, put these guys in the Hall of Fame. Can't have the Rock and Roll Express without thinking of the Midnight Express. That's for sure. NWA personified, definitely with Dennis Condrey and Sweet Stan Lane, Jim Cornette, and the late, great, beautiful Bobby Eaton. So shout out to his family. Prayers for his family and friends and colleagues. He was certainly one of a kind. And as an old school fan, like I said, just so many memories of watching Bobby in all these great tag team matches, especially against the Rock and Roll Express. He had many other great tag team affairs. Pretty sure Bobby Eaton, Jared would correct me if he was on here. I'm pretty sure he was in the Dangerous Alliance. I could be wrong about that. But Bobby did some fantastic things over his career, but you would never find anybody that would say a bad thing about him, especially in the ring. Just a great technician. Bell to bell, could have a match with a broomstick. They joke all the time about how Shawn Michaels or AJ Styles could have a match with a broomstick. Bobby Eaton was the same way. So he was one of those standard bearers that if you wanted to see if you could get a good match out of somebody, you had to go to Bobby Eaton. So thoughts and prayers with his family, and hate to see him pass away. One of the great legends in the wrestling business for sure. Swig of water for the working man, and we'll get started with SummerSlam. I apologize for all of you who are watching on YouTube. See me taking swigs of water. For those of you in the audio world, you can at least just tune me out. Anyway, all right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. SummerSlam 2021. For this very special episode on Monday, we wanted to pull out an old favorite of the Bite Bomb Wrestling podcast called Booking the Territory. Jared and I have got some things cooked up here pretty soon. We're hopefully going to bring you Booking the Territory in a different manner, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But every time that we get feedback from people, every time that we get new listeners, or every time that we interact with people who are fans of the show and stuff, 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell us, we love Booking a Territory. We love Booking a Territory. Love your guys' fantasy booking. It's great. It's great. So we have to continue, make sure we keep the fans happy, right? So this is fantasy booking the territory of this year's SummerSlam. Now, a lot of the things that I'm going to tell you, I'm going to try to avoid telling you things that I think will actually happen. Like if you say, what's going to happen between Bobby Lashley and Goldberg? That's one of those scenarios that what I think is going to happen is actually what I want to happen. So I'm hoping that it happens. So some of those scenarios might be the same. A lot of them are probably going to be different. If you want my predictions for the show, make sure you tune in Thursday at 6:30 on SportsWire and wherever you find the Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast, because that's where you'll get my predictions for the show. This is going to be what I would like to have happen. If they gave me the pen or the pencil, I guess the most powerful weapon in the world of wrestling is the eraser. So I guess what I'm holding in front of me wouldn't make any sense. But if they gave me the pencil, again, guys, I'm losing it. I am so sorry. If they gave me the pencil in the world of wrestling, how would I book SummerSlam 2021? Well, let me just tell you. All right. Let me go through all these matches here. Let's start out with the United States Championship match. Now, some of these matches I might have a little more in-depth story to go along with. Others I might not. Might have something for one guy, maybe not something for the other. So some of these might be different. So let's start with the United States Championship. U.S. Championship, Damian Priest challenging Sheamus for the championship. I think Damian Priest gets the big win on the big stage. Damian Priest had a big spotlight on him throughout WrestleMania season, where he was involved with Bad Bunny all the way from his debut of the Royal Rumble all the way to the end of WrestleMania. Despite him being injured, he had a big spotlight on him, a lot of pressure, and he really came through there. And then he's been saddled with a feud with The Miz and John Morrison ever since. Some really underrated stuff on Monday Night Raw if you haven't watched it. But I think Damian Priest gets the win here. If I was booking it, I would book Damian Priest to win it. And this is another scenario where I actually think this is going to happen. Maybe not this feud that I'm getting ready to say, but I think Damian Priest wins this match. That's what I would book. And if I had the pencil, I would have Damian Priest in a feud after SummerSlam with the Viper, Randy Orton. Now, I know that's probably not going to happen because it seems like we might be headed to a long-term feud. Maybe Randy and Riddle finally break up and they actually wrestle each other. Maybe Randy is saddled in a tag team with Riddle for a little bit longer. I don't know. But I would book Damian Priest in a feud with Randy Orton. And the reason is obvious. It's because Randy Orton is that kind of guy that's going to put young talent over and is going to do a really good job at it. Can get a good match out of pretty much anybody. So he's the proverbial workhorse as far as somebody with some tenure in WWE. So you put a young guy with him, Randy's going to make him look good. And I think it'd be a great opponent for Priest. Priest needs a guy with some credibility. I mean, not saying Miz and Morrison don't have any credibility, because clearly they do, but it's just another stepping stone to make Priest a much bigger talent. So I'd have Priest go over, and I would have him feud with Randy Orton following SummerSlam. Moving on to Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Now, this match was just announced, I think, on SmackDown this past Friday night. I haven't got to go through SmackDown yet, but reading the news and notes online, it looks like that this match was advertised during SmackDown. So I hate the spot for Drew, because he reigned over 2020 and now he's in a mid-card spot with Jinder Mahal on a big show. So I hate that for Drew, but I do think I would book Drew getting the win in this match. I don't think I necessarily squash Jinder, because I think you need to get a good match with Jinder to bring Jinder some legitimacy again. However, I would still put Drew over in this match. Then I would have Drew feud with the newly debuted, I guess it's not new, he's been there for a couple of weeks now, the now former NXT champion, because I think he dropped his title to Samoa Joe, the former NXT champion, Karrion Kross. I think he and Drew McIntyre would have a fantastic feud. Again, another guy to bring up in Karrion Kross. Drew McIntyre could have great matches with him, really. Really put him over, really make him look good. I'm not saying that Karrion Kross is going to blow over the whole feud like I think Damian Priest will over Randy Orton, but I do think that Drew is a guy that can elevate, there's the right word, elevate Karrion Kross into that big main event status on the main roster, but I do think Drew comes out on top in the end of that. Swig of water, here we go. All right. The next match that Let's Fantasy Book, let's look at the Raw Women's Championship. Of course, that's going to be Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair challenging Nikki ASH in a triple threat match. So no rules, no DQ, no countouts. Must be a winner by pinfall or submission. It's for the Raw Women's Championship. And I would give the strap to Charlotte Flair. I think Charlotte should go over in this match. As much as I don't necessarily like Charlotte going over, I think it would be the right call. If I had the pencil, I would do it. And I would also, at the end of this match, I'd have Charlotte Flair win, maybe even in dominant fashion. I don't know. Maybe have her grab the mic and say, I've proven it once again that I'm the best this division has to offer, yada, yada, yada. And then we hear the music of Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch comes out and confronts Charlotte and says, hello, old friend. And then they feud for the fall, especially leading up to Hell in a Cell. That would be a fantastic match between those two ladies. A great way to really settle their feud. I don't know that Becky necessarily wins the title right when she comes back. You know, maybe her and Charlotte, maybe Charlotte gets the best can't talk. Take a shot, as Matt Cardona would say. Maybe Charlotte gets the best of her for a little while. Then Charlotte drops the title to somebody else, and then Becky goes and takes the title from that person. As much as people have seen it and are probably tired of it, you can go back to Charlotte and Becky as much as you want. Those girls are best friends. The story writes itself. The other is always wanting to one up the other one. So that story is always going to be there. So you can keep going back to it. Even if the match is just a one-off, you can keep going back to it. The story's fresh. The story makes sense. You can always get mileage out of that match. So that's where I would go with the Raw Women's Championship. I give it to Charlotte Flair and then have Becky Lynch come out and confront her, and then have maybe a short-term feud with them just to get Becky comfortable in the ring again, back in the swing of things, that sort of thing. Next match on the card for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Dominic and Rey Mysterio, the former champions, will be challenging Jimmy and Jay, the Usos of the Bloodline. I think this one is an easy one. This is an easy one to book. WWE Creative has done a great job of sprinkling in some doubt as far as the Mysterios are concerned. A little tension between father and son. Again, that story writes itself. Dad trying to bring up his kid in his way and kid wanting to blaze his own trail. And I mean, that story tells itself. So I would book this the way that I think it's going to go. So you'll hear this on Thursday. I think the Usos win this match, and I think that Dominic turns on Rey. Might not be a popular decision. I said it last week on the podcast. I don't know how Dominic is going to be as a heel, but I do think that this happens. So that's my call on this. Him and obviously Dominic and Rey will put on great matches. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know what Dominic's character is going to be as a heel, if that makes any sense. I don't know who the Usos go after. After this, the tag team division is a little, not necessarily a little bleak. I guess it's better on SmackDown than it is on Raw. Maybe Usos and Street Profits for a little while. I know Montez Ford, that's his name. He was hurt for a little bit. I know he's back now. So I think that would be good. Street Profits and Usos for a little while. Give them somebody to actually challenge them. Make you think they're going to lose the titles. Put some pressure on them from Roman. Continue that side of the story. That kind of thing. But I'm putting the Usos over, and I'm having Dominic turn on Rey, and they would have obviously a long-term feud between those two. Maybe ending in Rey's retirement. I don't know for sure. Maybe Dominic injures him, somebody puts him on the shelf, and then Rey comes back maybe towards WrestleMania, and then they blow the feud off there. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I think it'll be interesting for sure. All right, if you are just now joining us, if you have just stumbled in, this is the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher, and I am flying solo tonight as we book the territory of SummerSlam 2021, all right? So this is not necessarily my prediction show. This is if WWE Creative gave me the pencil, how would I book SummerSlam 2021? All right. So thank you for joining us. If you're listening on SportsWire, make sure that you go back and you check out our YouTube channel and our past archives. We have tons of great episodes there. We appreciate you doing that. Make sure you follow us on social media at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as I mentioned earlier, and as we'll continue to mention over this week. My brother from another mother, Jared Justice, and I, we will, Lord willing, be in Las Vegas this weekend for SummerSlam. So you're going to want to follow us on social media to keep up with all of the great happenings that we've got going on. We're going to drop some exclusive content. We'll have a video vlog coming your way on our YouTube channel next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because that vlog will be exclusive to our YouTube channel. You don't want to miss all the happenings and all the craziness that we're going to get into in Las Vegas. It's going to be a great time. We've already went through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 matches for SummerSlam, and we've got 4 more to go. We've got the big 4, as I would like to say. We really hit the undercard, and this could be a quadruple main event on any pay-per-view that you've got, but we've got them all here on SummerSlam. Let's start with there's 2 matches on the card that are not for championships. So that's pretty awesome to look at. The second match that is not for a championship on the SummerSlam card is Edge versus Seth Rollins. Clearly, this is 2 of my all-time favorites. As you can see over my right shoulder, you've got my favorite wrestlers in figure form back here. You've got Edge up here, and then you've got Seth Rollins down here, right? Where's he at? There he is. Seth Rollins right there. And then there's Edge directly above him. So clearly these are 2 of my favorite guys. And I'm going to try to leave my heart's prediction out of this, or my I'm just looking forward to a great match. I really am, and I'm so happy that I'm going to be in the building to be able to see two of my all-time favorites go at it. I think it's going to be awesome. These guys are really going to put on a great match. I'm going to go ahead and call it. It's going to be match of the night. These two guys both know how to tell a story. Put them in there together, and it's going to be great. I think if I have the pencil, what I would do for this match is, I know that both of these guys have been teasing going for the Universal Championship, which we're going to get to in a minute. I know they've both been teasing it, but what I would do, I would have Edge go over in this match. Then I would have Seth Rollins come out and complain as a heel. That's not fair. He cheated, blah, 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 whatever. And then since this feud has been 7 years in the making, what I would do is I would blow this feud off in a Hell in a Cell match. That's where I would go. Then I would have Seth go over, have Seth beat Edge inside Hell in a Cell, and then Edge maybe take a month or two off, come back around Survivor Series, have Seth then go after Roman Reigns after Hell in a Cell for the championship. So again, there's a spoiler as to what I will do in the main event, but we'll get to that in a minute. So Edge and Seth Rollins, I predict, or not necessarily that I predict, I would book Edge to win this match and have a rematch inside Hell in a Cell. That's where I would go. All right. The next match for the SmackDown Women's Championship, the long-awaited rematch from WrestleMania 37. This match won an ESPY for WWE's Moment of the Year. And if you guys don't know what ESPYs are, it's ESPN's awards that they give out every year. So it was a huge platform for WWE. It was a specific category, WWE Moment of the Year. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair took home that ESPY, rightfully so, and they're going to tangle up once again, a rematch at SummerSlam for the SmackDown Women's Championship, the match that main evented night number 1 of WrestleMania. And I've been on record since WrestleMania saying that these two ladies needed to have a rematch. They cannot be one and done. It was too good. And I've said from the get-go, it needs to be SummerSlam, SummerSlam, SummerSlam. And here we are. Sasha and Bianca, part 2, SummerSlam. The way that I would book this, I would have Sasha Banks go over in this match. That way that Bianca's going to win on a big stage. Sasha's going to win on a big stage. Well, of course, if one's got one win and one's got the other, you got to do best of 3, right? Somebody's going to win the rubber match. So I would book these two ladies inside Hell in a Cell. I know that I just said that for Seth and for Edge, but these two ladies, that's another feud that has been a long time in the making, and I think it deserves a Hell in a Cell match. So I would go that route. I would then have Sasha Banks win the rubber match. I'd give Bianca a little bit of time, not necessarily to cool off, but just some time to step back a little bit. She's been running hard since WrestleMania. Have her step back a little bit, get a couple big wins under her belt. Bianca is the type of babyface that the chase for the title is better than having the title, in my opinion. Bianca is the chasing babyface, just like Goldberg. Okay. Goldberg, it was the biggest thing about the streak in 1998 was that fans just wanted to see him get to Hogan. They wanted to see him get to Hogan. Chase, get there. And then he'd get close and then pull it out. He'd get close and then pull it away, kind of thing. Finally, he got there. And very quickly, the streak got old. Very quickly, Goldberg just didn't have the crop of opponents maybe that he needed. I don't know. I know that he won the title in July. And then I believe at that Bash at the Beach, he wrestled Kurt Hennig. I think in August at Road Wild, he wrestled the Giant. War Games, Fall Brawl War Games in 98. Off the top of my head, I don't remember who he wrestled. And then in October at Halloween Havoc, he wrestled Diamond Dallas Page, and everybody wanted DDP to win that match. November, he didn't wrestle for the title. I'm talking about pay-per-views, obviously. In December, he lost the title to Kevin Nash. So, all that to say, there are certain baby faces out there who the chase is way better than actually having the title, defending it. And I think that applies to Bianca Belair here. I've been on record to say I'm not a huge fan of her, but I'm not going to let that influence the pencil. All right, I've got the pencil, trying to do what's best for business. So I think Bianca needs to go back into that chase. So I think Sasha wins the title, and I think they kind of separate for a little bit. Maybe you come back to it around Rumble. Heck, maybe you even do another match at WrestleMania next year. I don't know. But I would split them up for a little bit. I'd have Sasha Banks go defend her title against Tegan Nox. I think Tegan Nox needs a little bit of a spotlight. I think you could interchange Tegan and Shotzi taking shots against Sasha Banks for a little while. I think that would be interesting. That's a way, again, to get the newcomers some reps, get them on TV, get them in big matches. Ultimately, I think Sasha would keep the title over those two. But I think it would be very interesting feuds. All right. So we go water for a working man before we move on to the 2 championship matches. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The 2 championship matches on SummerSlam. The first one for the WWE Championship on the Raw side, you got Bobby Lashley defending against Goldberg. Now, the way that I would book this, if I had the pencil, would be that Bobby Lashley wins clean. Not a squash, obviously, but Bobby Lashley wins clean. I know that makes Goldberg 0 for 2 for this year because he lost to Drew McIntyre at the Rumble. I just wouldn't give him the title. I don't really have a good reason for it. And I don't think it's because we've seen it before. I don't think that's a good enough reason. I just wouldn't give him the title. I think the main reason is because I want Bobby to hang on to it for just a split second, though, because I know that we had this issue with Baron Corbin and stealing the Money in the Bank briefcase and whatever. I think Big E somehow gets that back. And at SummerSlam, Big E cashes in on Bobby Lashley. And I would book Big E winning the WWE Championship, from Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. New Day celebrates. It's a big party. It kicks off SummerSlam, so that really gets everybody in a good mood, that kind of thing. And then Monday night on Raw, I think Bobby Lashley and MVP come out. They state their case. It's not fair, blah, blah, blah. I need a rematch. Adam Pearce grants said rematch. Big E then defeats Bobby Lashley clean, retains the championship. New Day celebrate, and it's a good time. And then, boom, finally, we get the true breakup of the New Day. Big E turns on both Kofi and Xavier Woods. Big E's the heel, and I think for a couple of pay-per-views, couple months, Big E goes back and forth between Woods and Kofi as they challenge for the championship. I think we get a heel Big E run. I mean, I know everybody likes him. It's going to be hard to boo him. I would be interested to see if I presented this to WWE Creative, how they would get Big E over as a heel, because quite honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead. But I would put Big E over as a heel. It's the route that I would go for that. As far as Bobby Lashley is concerned, I don't know. Maybe take him off TV for a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Maybe if you do Kofi and Woods turn on Big E and they join the Hurt Business like MVP has been asking them for a while, that could work. I think that's an interesting booking decision. I like Big E, though, as the heel, as the big guy. And with Kofi, I mean, obviously they'll have great matches, that kind of thing. All right. Main event of SummerSlam, Roman Reigns defends his Universal Championship against John Cena. If I'm fantasy booking this, if I have the pencil, Roman Reigns wins clean. Squash. And not just like a squash. Not just John Cena doesn't get any moves in. I'm talking squash is in John Cena Undertaker. WrestleMania 34. Squash. John Cena gets a few offensive moves in, has Roman on the ropes for a bit. Cena makes a mistake. Roman gets him. Boom. Beats him in like 5 to 7 minutes. Done. John Cena passes out, I think, to that guillotine that Roman had been doing for a while. I think Cena passes out to it. And that's what I would do. If I'm booking it, Cena's passing out. All right. Roman and Heyman get on the mic. Yada, yada, yada. Tribal Chief. And then we hear, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. And The Rock shows up at the end of SummerSlam and confronts Roman Reigns. All he has to do is come out, stare at Roman, and we know that it's coming. WrestleMania 38, AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas. Sorry, Arlington, technically. The Rock challenges the Tribal Chief for the Universal Championship. Rock shows up to confront Roman at the end of SummerSlam. Now, what I do after that, John Cena obviously rides off into the sunset. I don't think he's going to do anything after SummerSlam, or at least if I'm fantasy booking it, I wouldn't have him do anything past SummerSlam. I don't know. He's riding a good wave, though. Maybe hang him around a little while. I don't know. He's riding a really good wave, though. Everybody's getting behind him, that kind of thing. As far as Roman goes, I think I would put him in a feud with Finn Balor. They've been teasing that quite a bit. I think that makes perfect sense. We said a long time ago, us here on the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, we said that Finn Balor would be a great opponent for Roman Reigns because he'll make Roman look good. Roman will make him look good, but ultimately Roman would overpower him. So that's that. One last swig of water for the working man as we wrap up this Booking the Territory edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. We are here every Monday and every Thursday on SportsWire, as well as wherever you find your audio podcast, and on YouTube. That's on demand. So if you want to listen to past episodes, that kind of thing, make sure you go check out our channels. If you are new to us, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you get all kinds of extra content. That way you can check out our past episodes. Let us know what you think. Shoot us some feedback at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/PBW Podcast. Buy yourself a fancy Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast t-shirt. That's the easiest and best way to support the show. We appreciate it very much. All right. It is SummerSlam week. So this coming Thursday, myself, the indie darling Andy York, and the whole podcasting show, Jared Justice, the three of us will be together on this show previewing not only SummerSlam, but NXT TakeOver 36. This past weekend was a big weekend in wrestling. This coming weekend is a big weekend in wrestling, all right? But I know that we have the big AEW Rampage show in Chicago. I know that we have Brian Myers challenging the new Impact World Champion Christian Cage at the Resurgence pay-per-view. I know that we have a lot of stuff going on. There's a big GCW show in Las Vegas where Matt Cardona is going to show up for the first time as their champion. A lot of things happening. Next week, we've got CCW Music City Fight Night in Nashville, Tennessee. We got some good stuff planned for that next week as well. So we're going to let you in on all of that coverage. But this coming week, it's all about WWE. It's all about SummerSlam. It's all about NXT. So On Thursday, we will preview both of those shows. And then on Saturday night, make sure that right after SummerSlam, you are tuned into sportanarium.com/player, sportanarium.com/player, where you can listen to us live, the official Sports Wire Radio SummerSlam post show will be hosted by yours truly. Myself and Jared Justice will be live from Las Vegas, Lord willing, and it will be produced, reined in, headed up by our boy Tom Bryce from Sports Wire. He will be fielding the phone calls. He will be steering the ship. It's going to be a great time. Saturday night, directly after SummerSlam goes off the air. So make sure you call in 347-282-7735. Again, that number is 347-282-7735. Make sure you call in. Give us your feedback. We want to hear your thoughts on SummerSlam, and we want to hear you contest what we have to say about SummerSlam. All right. Here on the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, you're normally used to our Facebook lives and our YouTube lives and our Twitch lives directly after pay-per-views. Well, this one is going to be exclusive to Sports Wire live. All right. You'll be able to go back and listen on demand later on both Sports Wire and on our channels, but we want your interactions live. All right. So Saturday night, it's not a Sunday night like normal. So we expect everybody to stay up, interact with us, call in. We would appreciate it very much. So Saturday night, make sure you tune in. All right. My name is Chris Belcher. I'm your phenomenal host. This has been the Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you tune in Thursday. Make sure you tune in Saturday. It is a full week, and it doesn't stop next week, but we'll get into all that as the week goes on, all right? My name is Chris Belcher. I appreciate you hanging out with me on this edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We will catch you guys down the road.